Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So it's the start of June. Donald Trump just got convicted in New York, and that means we got to do another presidential election prediction. We haven't done one since the beginning of May. What has exactly changed? What has exactly stayed the same? It seems like the polls haven't really moved much over the past month, and that we know. And when you look at the numbers, it is true that post-conviction we're seeing some mixed polling, some mixed results. And when you look at this, it's like, Biden did gain a couple points in some of these polls like Morning Consult, Reuters. But again, Biden has led by those margins in both of those polls over the past month at several instances. Meanwhile, Donald Trump went up, according to the Forbes Harris X poll, by a couple of points. I think that Biden probably gets some temporary post-conviction bump. You have a lot of these polls, they're released in like one day. They're snap polls that are trying to just, get put out there based off of the conviction to gauge the instant public opinion on it. And is that really moving the needle very much? I feel like a lot of this is baked into the cake, whether, they believe that this trial is politically motivated was already a factor in their vote. I don't know what a conviction exactly would change. They're going to try to hammer in the, oh, you're a convicted felon label. I mean, these are the same people on the left, by the way, who are saying that you can't say felon. It's a mean word. You have to say justice impacted individual. So I guess that's what Donald Trump is. Either way, it has backfired to a certain extent. Donald Trump has raised, allegedly, over $200 million from both small dollar donors and large dollar donations as well. So that's huge. That's almost as much as Biden's raised. It's more than Biden's raised in his entire campaign. But, when you add outside spending, Biden's raised a little bit more than that, but not by a lot. So the cash advantage is completely just gone for Biden, which, it's not the only metric. Hillary did outspend Donald Trump like 3-1 and still won, but you'd rather be competitive with spending and you'd want to spend well down the stretch. And now Donald Trump, because of this, arguably got a boost, and he's got a lot of people fed up and angry and ready to volunteer and give it their all in the election. But Biden, he's still Biden. His approval rating is down by, 16 points. The country, according to the people of this country, believe that it's on the wrong track by a substantial margin, and Donald Trump is leading the polls in all the swing states. So that's a little bit of background information. We're going to fill this map out, but first I have to tell you guys about our very good friends over at My Patriot Supply. Because it's no longer a question of if something is coming, it's when. The only shock will be the what. Your gut, your instincts, the feeling that you've had something disastrous on the way, all of it's true, but what are you going to do about it now while you still have some control? Your first step is by going to my website, preparewithredeagle.com. Your next step is stocking up on multiple 3-month emergency food kits from My Patriot Supply. You can save $200 a kit for a limited time. There's no better time than now to buy in bulk. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you prepare. As the original Patriot company, they've helped over 2 million families ready themselves. These 3-month kits with ready-hour foods provide over 2,000 calories every day. I know people that live off this stuff, by the way, but they're sealed inside of a rugged ammo can, so they do last up to 25 years in storage. So you can grab it and go when the crisis comes. Get these kits for $200 off right now at preparewithredeagle.com. That's preparewithredeagle.com, because it's better to be prepared before it's too late. So we're going to fill this map out. Donald Trump, Joe Biden. We've got 5 months to go, 5 months before the election. And the polls have not really turned in Biden's favor. Maybe that changes because of the conviction. I don't believe it's going to be a long-standing thing. You're not going to see Biden shoot up and Trump's going to fall and Trump's going to stay there. That's not what I expect to happen. You might have a response bias in favor of Biden after the conviction, but so far we've seen mixed results in the polling, and we'll probably have to wait a couple of weeks and maybe update the prediction if that does happen. And apparently, if Biden's able to actually effectively use this against Donald Trump, there's also the questions of what about jail time? We'll get to that when we get there. Trump is a first-time offender. The question is, do they want to put him in jail knowing that it could backfire and it's a horrible look for Biden to imprison his political opponent? That's another question. But we will fill out the safe states, the states that will go for Donald Trump by more than 10 percentage points, pretty much no matter what. Here we go. We'll fill all these states out here. New to the column is Iowa and Ohio from 2020. Also South Carolina, Maine, 2nd District, I think we can put in Donald Trump's safe column, Alaska as well. So you look at Donald Trump's floor, it's at 149 electoral votes. Now we'll fill out the safe blue states. You have Washington, Oregon, California, the Western Seaboard, Hawaii, even though I think Trump will make some gains. I don't think it's nearly going to be enough. And then a lot of these states here, maybe Delaware would be competitive if Biden wasn't from there. Who knows? New Jersey, again, polls have had it close. I still, as of right now, I'm a little cautious to put it in the likely column. Connecticut, Vermont, New York as well. I think New York will get closer. If the polls, in October are still showing a 7 to 8 point game and we have more polls, then it's like, okay, maybe we'll move it to the likely column. As of right now, we're going to keep New York in the safe blue column, Maine's 1st District and Illinois as well, and also the state of Colorado. It's not what it used to be. It used to be a swing state. Voted Republican in 2004, but if there is a state that has been affected by California transplants, it probably is Colorado more so than Texas, just based off of the fact that Colorado's got a lot of liberals moving there. Texas has been a little bit of a mixed bag in comparison. So 191 for Biden out of the gate, 149 for Trump out of the gate. We're going to go to the likely states that honestly, both these states were considered top-tier battlegrounds in 2020, but Donald Trump won them easily. You have the state of Florida. Florida already, it's moving off a cliff. We covered this in the party registration video, and Republicans are up by like 1 million compared to 2020 even in terms of their party registration advantage. And this is a state that Trump won at the time by over 300,000 votes. Very red in the midterms. Not going to be as red this time around because it is a presidential year. Turnout will likely be higher, but this is a red state. It's bordering on safe. I think Trump takes it by around 8 points or so when it's all said and done. Same thing with Texas as well. Texas is a unique state because it has moved left, but it's shown signs of possible rebound. You saw this not necessarily just in the midterms, but the fact that you have a border crisis that's a crucial issue in the state, Biden's attack on oil, the border, everything is not exactly going to play out well. He's bleeding Hispanic support. And it does seem as if some of these suburbs he may be maxing out, because even if he does make some gains among suburban whites or whatever, the gains that he loses or the gains that Trump makes among Hispanics are likely to offset that. We kind of saw that to a degree in the midterms, but also you have the Rio Grande Valley. You have less people moving to these areas because less people are moving in general in the Biden economy. Yeah, I think that Texas is going to go red probably by around 8 points, possibly 9 or so when it's all said and done. So already Donald Trump, he's at 219. Now we can fill out some of the likely Democrat states. I think New Mexico might be the only one, which we don't have any polls in New Mexico, so we can't really even gauge what's going on in the state of New Mexico. But I will say that it's unlikely Trump wins it. It's not just because of the Hispanic vote, but also white liberals in Albuquerque. There's plenty of them, and that has kind of, I guess, prevented any possible movement in the state towards Trump. And we'll see that. Like the Hispanic counties down by Texas, they're moving right the way that some of the Hispanic counties in Texas are moving right. But, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, relatively liberal, kind of like dollar store Colorado in a way with Denver. So there's that. But we'll be moving on to the lean Republican states, and we have several. We'll start off with the state of North Carolina. This is a state that was probably, I believe, the closest state that Trump won in the 2020 election. You talk about a victory of about a point to 2 points. And again, Biden had everything go right for him in 2020. It's a little bit different now. North Carolina, you look at this, Donald Trump, he leads in North Carolina by around 5 percentage points. He's polling, relatively close to 48%. And keep in mind, early polls last time in North Carolina, they showed a tie at this point in history. He's already polling 5 points better. I think Trump wins the state by like 3 to 4. I think it's a relatively fair margin. I think lower black turnout likely is going to aid him. And also party registration data, just like Florida, Republicans have had a net gain of over 200 to 300,000 in terms of the comparison with 2020 when they already won the state. So you have that, but also Georgia. First flip on the map here. You look at this, go to Georgia. Again, Biden's lead largely came from black turnout in Fulton and DeKalb. You're not going to get that now. You're likely not. You didn't really get it in the midterms for a lot of these races, and you likely aren't going to get it now. And Trump may even make some gains among like young black men, for example. Every poll shows it. Is it going to happen? Well, we'll have to see. It's like we'll believe it when we see it type of thing. But still, Biden netted like over 150, 200,000 votes of raw vote turnout in those two counties compared to 2016. And even in the suburban counties that moved left, high black population. So overall, I think that Trump just getting his base out in Georgia probably is going to be enough this time. You'll see some suburban reversion, in my opinion, but a lot of that is also just due to the fact that black voters in the suburbs are disillusioned with Biden. And on top of that, in the state of Georgia, you had the whole Lake and Riley case. Immigration's a big issue. There's a lot of illegals in Georgia, believe it or not. It's not a border state technically, but there were more illegals even before the crisis in Georgia than there were in a state like Arizona. So do keep that in mind. Every state's a border state under this administration, and people are taking note. They really are. So that's it for Georgia. We also have a state entering this column that didn't even vote Republican at the presidential level either time Trump was on the ballot, but that state is Nevada. Nevada, if you look at the polling data in Nevada, it's kind of ridiculous to look at. He's up by like 5 points. Some polls have him up by 13. And keep in mind, yes, polls in Nevada typically overestimate Republicans. It's true, but Republicans are making some severe gains in terms of party registration in the state. And on top of that, you kind of see the Reid machine kind of dying, Trump making gains with Hispanics, Biden just losing popularity overall. And yeah, I really believe that you look at the state of Nevada, Donald Trump is probably going to be able to go out there. I think he's going to win it by like 2 to 3 points. I don't think he's going to win it by 9 or 13, but I think that some of these other polls might be closer to the final margin, but I do believe, yes, Donald Trump will win the state of Nevada, and he will win it not just by the skin of his teeth either. So now we have to do the lean Democrat states here. We have the state of Maine. We've seen some polls with Trump leading Maine and also New Hampshire. I really believe that both of these states probably vote for Biden by around 5 points, a little bit less than that. Third parties will eat into Biden's margin, but I still believe he's going to prevail in both of these states when it's all said and done. Again, the Northeast is a little unpredictable in terms of voting patterns. A lot of independent-minded folks, they got a mind of its own, but what can I say? On top of it, the state of Virginia, we've seen how many polls that have it as like a tie. Now, that's not definitive. I know it's not definitive, but is it possible that there's something happening? Yeah, I think it's going to be closer to the 2016 margin than the 2020 margin in the state of Virginia. We're going to fill that out lean blue. On top of it, we have the district in Nebraska. Again, there's been some polling that has Republicans up, but there was another poll that came out that had them down. Again, this is another wild card. I could see it go either way. It just depends on if you get suburban reversion because of the distaste for Biden in a lot of these suburbs. You got suburban Omaha in that district. Overall, I just kind of believe that this is a place that's just trending too left to really make up for it, even though the presence of some of these third parties will definitely help out. But still, either way, Nebraska's second. I'll keep that one in the lean Democrat column, like a 2 to 3 point win for Biden as things stand right now. So we got Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota now entering the competitive toss-up category, and Arizona. So we're going to fill out these 5 states that will be decided within 2 percentage points. We're going to start off with the state of Pennsylvania. And Donald Trump has taken the lead. He leads by 2.3 percentage points. And there's, like I've said, a ripe opportunity, because a lot of Biden's victory you can attribute to higher black turnout in Pittsburgh. You're probably not going to replicate. And, Philadelphia, parts of the suburbs, you're not going to replicate. You got Hispanics moving right. That probably is enough to make some gains up here in Northampton County and Allentown in that area. And on top of it, the whole Scranton Joe thing, he's not getting the same enthusiasm in terms of raw donors in eastern Pennsylvania, despite the fact that up to this point last time, he was down in a lot of places compared to now because he had a competitive primary last time. Yes, I do believe that this state will likely flip back into Donald Trump's column. It is moving to the right by very many metrics. Party registration, Republicans flipping statewide offices. Yeah, they ran some candidates in 2022 that were not exactly ideal, just like they did the same thing in 2018. But the candidates in 2022 did better than those 2018 candidates. So kind of a little bit of a wash. Either way, Trump's on the ballot. Republicans starting to somewhat embrace the early voting system. That's good news. I think Trump wins it back by like a point or so, and he will take the state of Pennsylvania. Then you have the state of Michigan. This is a state where, again, it's a very white working class state, and you've got problems for Democrats in Wayne County, also among white progressives in college towns. They're disillusioned. The whole abortion thing's not enough, especially in Michigan, because Democrats overplayed their hand with it in 2022, and Trump is on the issue, a relatively moderate, middle-of-the-road individual in the eyes of a lot of independent voters that would consider him. He says leave it up to the states. That's the exact position Biden had, 30 years ago. So looking at the state, there's a lot of room for growth. You talk about the auto industry. You talk about, even the migrant crisis, the border crisis. That's a big issue in Oakland County. They are ransacking homes, these Chilean crime gangs. It's not a good look. Yeah, I think that Trump probably takes it by a hair. I wouldn't be surprised to see Biden also take it by a hair. Trump's polling lead has narrowed, but he still is at 47%, which is absolutely huge. We'll see what happens, though. This is a state that could go either way for sure. Then we go to Wisconsin, where polls historically have underestimated Trump. Biden's only led in 2 polls going all the way back to October. So, this is a state, like I've said, early polls, they usually underestimate Donald Trump. And in terms of the demography, very favorable trends. Is Biden going to replicate the Madison turnout? Yeah, probably get close to it, but I don't know if he's going to replicate the Milwaukee turnout. In terms of the wow counties, I think Trump will hold his own in Washington and Waukesha. I do think Ozaukee probably he loses some ground. But again, if he lost the county, that's only like 7,000 votes netted to Biden. Not the biggest deal. Probably less with lower turnout overall. And on top of that, you look at Racine and Kenosha, I think he makes gains there, makes gains in the Driftless, Green Bay, Fox Cities area. You'll see some rebound out of Biden disaffectedness. I think Trump takes the state of Wisconsin by around 1 to 2 points. Then you have Minnesota, where Biden really failed in the primary. Primary data is not everything, but it shows that, it's not even just the Somalis that are upset with him, which is true. It's the white progressives. He was in the 60s in Ramsey and Hennepin County. That's not a good sign in terms of enthusiasm. This whole Palestine stuff is probably going to hurt him with this Antifa crowd that was behind him in 2020, and they see both parties as the same, and they do. Now, Biden's still going to win these counties by a substantial margin, but the margin's being cut. That's a big problem. Trump will make gains in the rurals. I don't think it's going to be enough, honestly, at the end of the day. I think that Biden's going to win it by, a point or two, but it's going to look more like 2016 as of now than 2020. And the most accurate gold standard polls from 2020, 2022 in Minnesota, they're backing up a very close horse race. Then you have the state of Arizona. We always save the Southwest for last. Usually it's Nevada and Arizona. This time it's just Arizona. And this is a state where Trump's always had a high floor, maybe a low ceiling, but a high floor. He's polling ahead of Biden by 4 points. It's been that way for a while. Biden has not led a poll in Arizona that was not a partisan anti-Trump pollster, because you had the DeSantis pollster that showed that. But they haven't led a poll since early, as in January or February 2023. Trump has led pretty much every RCP-accredited poll since. He's making gains among Hispanics. I don't think you're going to see many suburban defections, because the people that stuck with Trump twice, they stuck with him for reasons. They're not these woke suburbanites. They would never vote for Trump. You know, those type of people, they are going to stick with Trump. He probably gets only 49%, but with the higher third-party vote share in the mix, that's going to be enough to deliver a victory. Doesn't seem like the whole abortion ruling is effectively being milked by Biden. And the Sun Belt is experiencing a lot of buyer's remorse. The Rust Belt, that's where the election's going to be won. As of right now, we have Trump up in these places. We'll see what happens if the polls shift after the conviction. But even if they do, shift very well could be temporary. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But either way, Donald Trump at 312, Joe Biden at 226. But we see some of the margins here changing from the last prediction. And honestly, looks like they're changing in favor of Trump compared to early May, despite him being convicted and being a convicted felon. We'll have to see what happens though, guys. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.